earlier this year, YinYoo sent the D2B4 straight to me for the purposes of this and other reviews. I paid nothing for it. It went for around 110 bucks then, but I think you can get it for about 80 bucks. It houses 6 drivers, 2 dynamic and 4 balanced armatures in a hybrid format. You can find all about it in the link section below. Prior to the D2B4 arriving at my doorstep, I knew next to nothing about YinYoo. As far as I can tell, they are an upscale chi-fi brand, evidently with a bit of controversy behind their name. Originally, I posted a text review of the D2B4 back in May at Headfonics and at Ohm. So they've been in my studio and in my ears for months. I'm rather familiar with them. And I've got to say this, the D2B4 sounds good. I've had enough of these custom cum universal designs. When perfectly formed, they fit solidly and securely. But when they miss, they cant too much to one side or the other, leaving gaps in the tragus. Typically, they are big, bulbous, and ugly. The D2B4 isn't pretty, but its hard edges and bevels give it a smart, low-profile look. In my ears, the D2B4 is both less secure and less comfy than Hi-Dis's MS1 or MS4. Its forward, beveled edges rise clear out of the ear. Hardly anything of it lies flat or secure. Your ears and my ears are different. Yours may get on well with it, mine don't. Universal earphones whose central chassis sits low in the ear are, for me at least, more comfy. Examples of good-fitting universals are Biodynamics Xylento, Audio-Technica's CK10, and Ultrasonus EQ. Sure, they have less room inside for drivers galore, but they fit well and largely disappear. Imagine if Biodynamics Xylento were bigged up a bit. It could fit a hell of a lot of drivers in there. Too many custom cum universals forgo proper ergonomic design for what amounts to cheap faxing of a favored staff's ear impressions. Whether or not you find it comfy, the D2B4 is made well. Check out that grille. Check out that bevel. Even the MM6 port is neat and tidy. Following clean form is clean, thickly laid type and slick ports. Yank with all my might and the cable barely budges. I reckon I could garrote a horse with it. It's also pretty microphonic, transferring touch noise, both major and minor, to the ear. The MMCX sleeves have a springy, hardened TPU feel to them. Very nice. They also lack stress relieves. Instead, they sport a tight heat shrink that only barely impedes comfy glasses wearing. That sleeve is well positioned, but I can see that it eventually may fray at the sleeve. The slimline Y-split is nice and bendy, and the low-profile neck cinch does its job. I also dig the 3.5mm plug whose elbows come with a contoured DSLR-style thumb stop. In general, this is quality stuff. The tiny cardboard shoebox the D2B4 comes in shines metallically in blue or purple. Inside, a cheap, hard-packed foam insert keeps things together. It's mostly, but not entirely, free of icky chemical smell, the sort that plagues the tin Hi-Fi's T-series. It's even got a zippered carry pouch. And gosh, if it isn't the quality and finish and design equivalent of the thing included with Ultrasony's $3,500 Sapphire, I'll be damned. Pretty? No. And neither is its massive logo that when viewed upside down reads Dornia or Dornier. At least the two do their job. The earpads are translucent grayish or opaque blackish. The grayish ones are pretty tough. They also hurt my ears. The solid cores stay rigid in the ear and only barely affect sound output. Minor raised belts around the middle do a number on my ears. The black ones are softer sided and, for me at least, more comfortable. Depending on your ears, they may also show greater effect on sound. Both are free of molding blemishes and impeccably machined. YinYoo's logo looks like water spitting out from between two halves of a barbell set, or from between a divided hamburger, or a hat. It's lazy stuff. Its typography is pretty cool though. It's got a bit of the Ninjago logo in there, with good kerning. It's boxy and hefty. After the BGVP DM6, the D2B4 is refreshing. It is bright where it needs to be and boxy where necessary. It spits bass with sound pressure about a step and a half above neutral. That even means a mild dose of rumble in the opening seconds to Marcus Scholl's main stage. And there's good stereo information in the lows with decent texture thrown in. The transition to mids is tight, and wow do mid-range stereo cues go wide. In fact, it is entirely possible they go wider than is strictly optimal, where frequency zones transition. The result is an abrupt step up in stereo spread between lows and mids. The D2B4's boxiness here begins. Mids spread wide and with a good behind-the-head stereo wrap. Y-axis stereo information is meager when pushed forward along the Z-axis, but stands tall and even from end to end along the X-axis. Z-axis to tail and spread occupies as much space behind the ear as it does in front of it. It's like sitting between competing stage monitors. The D2B4's boxiness here continues. If you're a fan of upscale digital amps, you'll know what I'm talking about. Spread is huge and sticky from floor to ceiling. Detail within its bounds is big. Highs are bright but not peaky, and you find no sibilance anywhere. Bass, highs, and mids occupy roughly equally sized stereo zones and maintain similar sound pressure. Vocals jump clearly out, but have to compete in a crazy wide stereo spread. Do they disappear in the mix? For me, they do not, but upper mid-range stereo detail and spread crashes here and there, softening focus in the vocals. Percussion can get pretty bright. At times it pushes ahead of mids about a step. Chimes come and go wide along circular paths like flashing bump-to-the-head Looney Tunes stars. Would I prefer a bit less box in the stereo spread? A bit more fade to the sides, especially in the lows and the highs? Finer gradients? Yes to each. Or maybe. But I'm also as loyal to unabashedly boxy digital sound as I am to softer, dulcet analog timbre. I hope that's not confusing. The D2B4 is boxy throughout, and thanks to that box, compression of the mid-range as well as runaway highs and lows is basically null. It's even keel straight ahead and every frequency band is energetic, bouncy, wide and stereo detailed. Recovery in both lows and highs is fast, and as far as I can tell, the D2B4 is reverb free. It sure is muscly, but it is also generally accent free. If you gave me a choice between the warmth of the Hi-Res MS4 and the boxy strength of the D2B4, I'd be hard put to decide a favorite. If I chose the D2B4, I'd surely miss the subtle texture nuances and gentle warm mid-range of the MS4. But gosh, the speed and sheer power of the confluent D2B4 is addictive. And for a wider range of music, I prefer the D2B4 to the MS1. But when transitional nuance and clarity alone are important, it's MS1 all the way. The D2B4 goes for a little more than $100. For what you get, that's a steal. It's not the most comfortable earphone out there, its cable is pretty microphonic, its branding is a real mishmash, and its ear pads don't jive well with sensitive ears. Its bass, highs, and stereo spread get aggressively boxy. In the right or wrong genre, its highs can get hot, but they never are too hot or too boxy. The D2B4 occupies one of the best spots among wide-set, aggressive or shoulder earphones out there. It's big everywhere and exciting everywhere. If excitement is your ticket, you'd be a fool not to queue for the D2B4. On the ohm-image scale, I give it 4 homages and 3 porges, so pretty decent earphone.